Morning everybody, it's Nick, a very pink, sweaty Nick. So the purpose of this blog is to talk about menopause. I'll do a very quick recap. I don't want to bore people that already know or don't, but it's been 4 years now that I've really battled with lots of different symptoms of the menopause. It started off 4 years ago. Well, actually they thought I had chronic fatigue syndrome, or that was a suggestion, because really they couldn't work out what it was, because my bloods looked normal, and what was the reason for me not being able to get off the sofa, and actually feeling so disengaged, demotivated, exhausted, aching in every part of my body, just desperately bone tired exhaustion, that it's really difficult to describe if you haven't experienced. And all of that resulted in me going to a private endocrinologist who is a specialist in hormones. I'm a massive advocate of endocrinologists. In actual fact, I don't understand why all hormonal women don't have access to one. So, our hormone system is an incredibly sophisticated and complex orchestra. And when we go through the menopause, certain of our instruments get out of tune and get out of balance, and because the environment, we haven't evolved in line with our environment, there's no two ways about it. You can see it in lots of different aspects in life. So for those of you who knows about Johann Hari at all, his first book Lost Connections on mental health and depression was really life-changing for me, but he's just brought a new one out. Can't quite remember the title because I'm so menopausal, but I've read it in 2 days, and it's basically why we can't pay attention. And it's not just what he's saying, it's what lots of people say about the fact that the way we are wired as human beings is very much at odds with the environment we're living in. Even down to the fact that we read differently on screen than we do for books. So actually we're losing the ability to deeply focus. And because we read differently in a book or a paper, say online, we actually process information differently. Experiments have shown we just don't remember the same stuff if we're speed reading it. Everything's speed readed, everything is, now, Amazon delivery tomorrow. Anyway, lots of different factors going on. And in the midst of all this, you've got a huge surge of menopausal women who are having really severe symptoms. Now, this may well have been always the case. I don't know, I can only talk about now. But I would put money on the fact that it is more amplified by our way of life. A little bit like the experiment, the story that Brené Brown quotes in one of her books, can never remember which one, about the washerwomen who used to go down to the lake, the river, to do their washing, and they all got washing machines, and depression set into the village. And it turns out that the reason depression set in wasn't because the washing machines were doing all the hard work, was because they weren't going to the river to do the washing, they weren't having human connection, and they were losing that loss of community. Great story. So actually the antidote there was to be able to have the community and the connection. So and the same's happened for menopausal women. We have got so out of line. So our body is still asking for hormones. Our brain, it's been neurologically proven, the science is there, particularly a lot of the science looking at dementia. The science is there. Hormones have a massive impact on our brain. Our biggest hormone of all, insulin. You haven't got sugar, you're not going to think, right? Glucose is like a really big deal for your brain. Insulin is our biggest hormone. I didn't know any of this until I started seeing an endocrinologist. Now, it has taken a period of time because we are complex beings. Our life's complex, and there isn't a one fit all, and neither is a one solution. So I did a lot of work with my consultant on getting all different things sorted. So from the fact that I'm insulin resistant and how we manage my insulin, which changes over time, my, very low estrogen levels. Now, putting me on normal levels of estrogen, which if anybody who didn't understand the context and didn't see me on a regular basis would say, oh, you've got plenty of estrogen, there's no need to worry about. I was still completely exhausted, disengaged, couldn't be bothered. I've written about it a lot in the moment because I want to capture how that felt, because when you look back, you always look back with rose tinted glasses and you forget just how desperate it can make you feel when your hormones are basically messing around with you. And the point of this is I have just finished my first very slow 30-minute jog, and it's my first in about a year and a half. I actually gave up playing squash when my menopause got really bad, having played since I was 12 years old, because my body just didn't seem able to cope with it. And it felt for the last 3 years that really I was always going to struggle to get back to doing the stuff that I really love. And we, at my last visit, upped my estrogen again, because we plot everything on a graph against my symptoms. And it was becoming obvious that, you know, I just wasn't having enough, you know, my body just was not having enough fuel to fire on. Now, to any normal person, if they looked at my blood results, they'd say, there's absolutely nothing wrong with me, and why on earth do I need that much estrogen? But actually seeing a specialist consultant for a period now of 4 years, every 4 months, plotting, doing detailed analysis, talking openly about my system, about my symptoms, has meant that we've actually really got our heads around what I need as an individual. And the point is, I am out and I have just done my first 30-minute run. I did like a beauty bar kind of cardio class yesterday. Honestly, you should have seen me. It was just ridiculous. I was just so knackered and out of breath, but I did it, and I could have walked by last night. But actually experiencing that, you know, that real pain of when you haven't used muscles for ages was just priceless. It was priceless because, you know, I got to the stage as a menopausal woman where I just thought that, oh, you know, that's behind me. But it's not, and it's not, and it doesn't have to be. But it takes time. And the last 4 years haven't just been about having very, very excellent support from an extremely experienced, well-trained, well-researched endocrinologist and an excellent GP. It's also been about a lot of an emotional and psychological stuff as well, because menopause is a massive transition in our lives. And I think that the whole holistic approach is really important. So there's been a lot of work, you know, that I've had to do in terms of understanding traumas and why I've been triggered and why anxiety has been so amplified. Depression has come on quite significantly at times. And I've had to do a lot of work, and I will have to continue probably for the rest of my life. Because that is one of the really good things. It doesn't feel very good at the time with the menopause. You know, there's a lot of days you'll speak to me and I'll be like, this is fucking crap. But one of the really good things is it does make you look at the things that we've locked away in corners, and it makes you clean house, you know, if you think about our body as a house. And I think the point to all of this is to say, you know, there is absolutely light at the end of the tunnel. I have no doubt that I will have peaks and troughs, because that is the nature of life. And I think it is an optical illusion that society sets that we should be happy all the time, because that's bollocks. We're never going to be happy all the time, so let's just stop, you know, worrying about that. And you know, the menopause does move, so you know, we will constantly be amending my treatment plan. But of course, you just become so much more educated about your body and what your needs are as time goes by, educated about things that you hadn't even thought about. And you become aware of all of these things in your environment, and you think, oh, right, yeah, there's no wonder I feel like that. Have you tried to buy anything that's processed without huge amounts of sugar in, for example? You know, anyway, I could go on and on about that, couldn't I? But I wanted to share this because it is a huge step forward for me. Will I be able to do it again? Well, I certainly hope so. My plan very much is, in actual fact, I have a plan, which is that I'm not actually allowed to make a plan. I just have to get up each day, and I just have to try or do something that day that I feel I'm able to do. And this morning when I got up, it was, I'm going to go out and I'm going to jog. And I think run is a bit too extreme, really. I think what I've done is jog. In actual fact, if people saw me, they'd probably just say I was power walking. To me, I was jogging for 30 minutes, and then I'll have a nice relaxing walk with the dog. But none of that, I don't believe any of this would have been possible had I not been given the right support medically by my endocrinologist and GP, and also emotionally and psychologically by, you know, for me, I'm very spiritual, I'm very blessed, I did a lot of spiritual work, also a lot of quite deep counselling, and just the very process I've been training in soul midwifery, which for those of you who don't know is midwife brings the soul into the world, and we actually have soul midwives that help souls depart the world, so working with terminally ill people and their families. And even that very process has been hugely therapeutic. That is probably the most profound and deep level of therapy I've ever entered into, when you are learning how to support people when they are going through the process of death, because you really have to look at all of the stuff in your own closet to be able to do that. So what are the messages from this vlog? You know, there is light at the end of the tunnel. Women do definitely need much better support. I'm a great advocate of why wouldn't all women have an endocrinologist if they're going through the menopause. I mean, if you've got a heart condition, you have a cardiologist, right? I don't understand why we don't have specialist people helping women with this, who, you know, shouldn't be a matter of being blessed to be able to afford it, right, like me. And I also think it's also about looking much deeper, and it's that emotional education of ourselves in whatever way works for each of us. And for some of you, it won't be going out for a 30-minute run. You know, please don't look at me and think, oh my God, you know, I'm not cracking it today because I haven't done a 30-minute run. So I've been somebody that has done a lot of sport. Sport is a really big deal to me, a really big deal, and always has been throughout my life. But for other people, it might be different things. You know, it might be doing yoga, it might be doing artwork, it might be going to a pottery class, it might be doing a photography course. It doesn't have to be sport. This isn't about looking at me and, you know, that whole Instagram thing of you looking at people's perfect lives and then we all feel inadequate because we're not doing that, you know. It's not about that. It's just about finding yourself and finding the motivation to want to be yourself and to embrace it and to enjoy it and to be excited about being you and all of those things that you find interesting, and not actually giving a shit about what anybody else is doing on Instagram or any other kind of social media. In actual fact, probably at tops now, I use social media about 5 minutes a day, and it has been one of the best things I've done for my mental health, because it's either full of polarised debate, probably based on bullshit, because people have forgotten how to go and research things deeply. You know, you read something, you know, how quick does false news travel? Well, why do we think false news travels so quick? Because we're just sharing it without actually doing the research to make sure it's true. Or you're looking at some filter or some optical illusion of a perfect bit of a life that's been taken out of probably something hugely dysfunctional for all we know. So yeah, gosh, quite an excitable rant, isn't it? So I really hope that helps people going through the menopause out there, both women and their partners, and to keep on banging the drum about the fact we have to change the system. We have to change the way we support women. And it is not, you know, GPs are GPs, they are general, the clue is in the title, they are general practitioners. They are not hormone specialists. All women need access to hormone specialists, not just during the menopause actually, at any point in their lives where their hormones are out of kilter. We need to be providing that support and taking it much more seriously. So that's my message for today. I hope that helps. Lots of love. Bye.